What up, you guys? It is your favorite author and author coach, Katie Selman. And this time, I'm not coming to y'all as an author, writer, poet, author coach, whatever. I'm coming to y'all as a proud publisher who helped Calvin take his dreams and make it a reality with his first book, Hear My Cry. And I wanted to do this video for y'all because I really, for one, want to say thank you to all of you guys that supported him in this book, because I genuinely really believe that this is a life-changing book. And I'm not saying that because I'm his publisher. As a matter of fact, let me rewind myself so those of you guys who aren't familiar with me can get a little backstory so I could put a little stance on what I'm talking about. My name is Katie Selman. I've been writing since I was 8 years old. It is what I do. I think out of every piece I've ever written about love, I'm always talking about poetry. So when I tell y'all poetry means a lot to me, and that I personally don't feel comfortable with just anybody calling themselves a poet, I mean it, okay? I've headlined shows, I've sold out shows, I've hosted shows, I've traveled doing shows with my poetry, and I mean it when I say that I take my art and poetry very seriously.
I just want to be free. Free to create. Free to alienate one of the trillion ideas that my mind produces daily. Free to explore the world that my mind creates and travels to, because life is so much more pleasant from that view. God, I just want to be free. But sadly, my plans don't seem to fit in with society's. You see, they have a better idea of what I should do with my time, which is why I'm forced to work a 9 to 5 instead of being able to put the same hustle in these lines. Or like how institutions that promise to invoke higher learning can't even fit in their budget what I need with a simple pad and pen. But suddenly, all of the money in the world appears when my avenues don't pan out, and it leads me right into their pen. But I'm a prisoner long before I ever see the inside of a 48 square foot cell. Because without an outlet, I'm shackled by the same thing that frees me. So it leaves me bound and gagged in hell. But damn, I just want to be free. Because I've heard about the beauty that sits at that mountaintop, and I just have to see it for myself. Because if I allow these blog posts, poems, thoughts, ideas, and books to sit stagnant any longer, I'm going to go insane. And it makes sense, since you know what they say, that a non-writing writer is just a beast courting insanity. I guess that's why when I finally get to let loose on this mic, some of y'all can't handle me. Because without this, I am nothing more than a monster, just waiting to explode. So yes, I have to, and I will be free. So excuse me, will I allow these simple thoughts that were produced in my brain to travel through my mouth and into this mic, even if it sounds a little insane? You see, I finally realized that the vibrations from the sounds that my simple thoughts produce are infinite. So my story is going to continue on freely long after I'm done speaking. So understand that regardless of where up in here I stand, with or without that mic in my hand, I got a lot of shit to say. And y'all gonna respect this damn mic.
And that's why when Calvin, had the conversation with me about wanting to publish his book, I'm a publisher. So of course I'm going to entertain the conversation. But when we're talking about poetry, like not just any old writing, but poetry, my mind, I automatically thought,
Okay. Okay.
I'm dead serious, y'all. in my mind, I was not prepared for the level of poetry that was getting ready to hit my inbox. And I remember getting his book, and within the first couple of pages, literally just being in awe. You know, I hadn't even managed to go through some real poems before I started to see that even if I didn't go any further, this was going to be something that I needed to be a part of. Random facts about me is I am someone who knows a lot of words, okay? That's why if you looked me up on Instagram, my Instagram name is actually AKA Words. A little bit more of a backstory about me. Lexicon Presents is actually a play on words, right? My friends used to all call me Words just because sometimes for me, it's so easy. Poetry can literally just fly off my dome. And my best friend, before he passed, God rest his soul, he said, words, now that's too basic. You're like a lexicon of just information. And he's like, no, like Lexicon. And that's where the company was birthed from, Lexicon Presents, because I love writing, I love words, I love poetry, so much so that the people around me nickname me Words and help me find a business name that incorporates my love of words. But going back to this, I remember being a few poems in, and I was just being very honest with y'all. My prideful part stepped in because I said, hold on, why am I having to look up words? And then when I look up the word, I'm having to find that the definition includes words that I don't know either. And so from that moment on, I was really so intrigued by the way he took complicated words and simple words, and he put those things together in a way that you don't just hear what he's saying, but you can actually feel it. Like my favorite piece in this entire book, I would say, is Why the Constant Disappointment. And the reason that it's my favorite is because it takes a special kind of poet to take their utter confusion and put it in a way that someone else can understand it while being just as confused as they are. And he was able to captivate me from that alone. You'll also find that in this book, it's written and it's broken down into 3 different chapters. So you've got My Cry to Self, My Cry to Her, and My Cry to Culture. And so when I sat down and I talked with Calvin and I asked him, I said, what was the hardest chapter or the hardest thing to write about? Ironically, he said it goes in order of the hardest it was for him to write about. And for me, as a reader, I think the way he did it, you know, he kind of led up to a place where we could be honest about some things. Because to be real with y'all, we live in a society that doesn't even want to hear a Black man when he's begging for his own breath, when he's begging for his own life. So to have a Black man stand up and say, hear my cry, it challenged me as a Black woman to say, all right, let me see what you got to say. And then as I'm going through this, I'll be honest with y'all, the first time I read through it, I heard My Cry to Self, and I was like, okay, I can understand where he's coming from. Then My Cry to Her, and I'm like, okay, brother, I hear where you're going with all this. But then I get to My Cry to Culture. And when I got there and I saw how everything from slavery to how our society is built up, to how social media handles things, to how we look like just because we're in the in crowd, that we're all, you know, a part of something bigger or better, and we get lost in certain systems. And I read that, and for the first time, I was like, wait a minute, maybe I didn't really hear what he was saying in these other poems that he was talking about. Because while the poetry was beautiful, it was really hard to embrace the vulnerability that was on those pages. And so I read My Cry to Culture, and it really challenged me as a wife to a Black man, as a mother with Black sons. I'm getting ready to have my 5th Black boy, Black little boy, you hear me? And so it made me challenge, how much do I listen to them? Because when I went back And I paid attention to my cry to her. Ironically, my husband and I, we've been together 6 years, and there were pieces in there that I could finally hear him talking to me. Like, we had been having these conversations for 6 years, but it took a man that I didn't know personally in that manner to say the same things my husband has been saying, and to say it in a beautiful way. And it challenged me, because I said, why is it that when a man is in front of you being this vulnerable, you can't hear it, but it has to be put so eloquently on paper for it to be received? And then when I went back to my cry to self, it helped me get honest with a lot of things that were probably hindering me from being able to hear myself, my own voice, my husband's voice, my son's voices. And I just really genuinely believe that whether you're somebody who adores poetry like myself, or whether you're someone who sees the culture that America is in right now, or that everybody wants to push with all of this racial tension, you're going to read this book and you're going to get something that you maybe didn't know, or something that you were too scared to admit yourself, or maybe even something that somebody else has been trying to say to you that you just weren't ready to hear because it wasn't put in a way that you could identify with. But I genuinely feel that when you open your mind and read beyond just what he has on these pages, and really open yourself up to the fact that a Black man is willing to say, hear my cry, hear me be uncomfortable, hear my vulnerability, and not in a way that intimidates people, right? Because usually when a Black person in general is that passionate about something, it's automatically deemed as anger. And in this, he was so real, he was so raw, that you cannot misinterpret his words as anger. You can at moments feel the tears on the pages. Certain poems, you feel the anger for him. You feel the frustration for him. And I just want to thank y'all for literally supporting this book, because I genuinely feel like it has the power to not just change the person's mind who's reading it, but the person you're going to share it with, and even the world, if we do our part to make sure that people know that Black men don't have an issue with being vulnerable. They just want to be heard. So make sure y'all support Hear My Cry as a way of saying thank you to all of y'all. What we're doing right now is that once you get your book, take some pictures of some pages that might have resonated with you. And then I want you to tag Calvin, and I want you to tag myself or the company so we can share that. Then when you're done with that, I want you to head over to Amazon.com and leave a review, because your review could be the thing that sways somebody's mind when they're on the fence, right? He's a debut author. Nobody's heard his name yet, okay? And so that little push of your review can be the thing that makes somebody hit, I'm going to add this to cart, or bump that, I'm going to buy it with the one click right now, So please make sure you do that review. Then take screenshots, tag us in it, and then that way we will be giving away $5 to 5 random people who participate to help support and to push his book out a little further to those who really need to hear the message behind it. So again, thank y'all for your support. Calvin, thank you for trusting me with your vision. I know that through this process, we pushed each other as we challenged ultimately what it was we wanted. You came in with your vision, and me as the publisher said, well, this is how we can do it. This is what we can do. What do you want? What does this look like to you? How do we make this happen in a way that we're both, that I'm able to deliver what you want and you're happy with the final product? And I think just seeing your raw emotion when you opened up your packages, when you saw it, the final book for the first time, just reminded me of why I do what I do and why I enjoy working with aspiring authors and why I just thoroughly love making dreams come true. So thanks again for trusting me. And I want you to know that no matter what happens moving forward, you're stepping into a really scary territory. You did what most people are too afraid to do. So congratulations to you. It's only up from here. Don't let anybody who is too scared to chase their dreams have to say about a man who put himself out there to be completely vulnerable and chase his dreams. So I'm proud of you. Like we said before, it's only up from here, and I can't wait to see what you do next. And for the rest of y'all, I have a slide coming up. I want you to pull out your phones. Okay, so I'm gonna give y'all a little time to do that. Go ahead and pull them phones out if you don't already have them out. And just go ahead and snap a picture of the next post, or better yet, just head over to Instagram and add Calvin, myself, and Lexicon Presents so that you could be a part of the contest and so that you stay in the loop of everything Calvin's doing. He's got some interviews lined up so that way you don't miss anything exciting coming up with Hear My Cry. Again, thank y'all for y'all support. Calvin, keep doing your thing, and I hope you guys have an amazing night.